Shalom and welcome to this week's Living Torah. As I'm recording, this is Tuesday and the 22nd, and this coming Thursday is of course, it's the 24th, but it is Shoah Memorial Day, the Holocaust Memorial Day. It is a day of, we commemorate 6 million Jews that were killed in Nazi Germany. We commemorate 1.5 million children that were massacred on that day. The killing did not begin during the Shoah, and it sure did not end during that time. I saw an article this morning that approximately 10% of the survivors from the Shoah are actually still alive today, and if you're wondering, that comes out to be about 119,900 that are still alive to tell the story. I have been in Israel during this day, and it is one of the most impacting days I think that I've had, and that's saying something because I've been there, had many impacting days in Israel. But to be there at 9 o'clock in the morning, and the nation of Israel, as far as the Jewish side, I would imagine that in the Palestinian, Gazan, Arab world, in various places, there will be celebrations on that day. But for the Jewish side, it is a day of great sorrow. At 9 o'clock in the morning, everybody stops. No matter what they're doing, the sirens go off all over the land, and cars will stop. It reminds me a lot of growing up in the South. I remember, and even here in Franklin now, when we see, it's not as prevalent as it used to be, but if you see an ambulance or a hearse, a funeral procession, people stop on the side of the road. And you can see the people that understand this and respect you're respecting not the death, but the life of a person. And I remember as a child, we would see a funeral procession go by. Not only would people stop their cars, but they would actually get out of their cars. They had a hat on, they would take the hat off, and they would stand there in respect. And so this is a day of great tragedy. In Israel, it is one that to see tour buses, to see cars. I was there one day, I was in Netanya, and the sirens were about to go off. We delayed the bus actually leaving the hotel that morning in order to commemorate this time. And I got out and stood. My guide at the time, Daniel, I had never met him before. And this was the first morning, really, of our interaction together as tour guide and tour leader. And I got out and I stood next to him. And it just made such an impact in his life that I would do such a thing. In this time, as I said, there's about 119,900 Shoah survivors. Actually, the word Holocaust is in some ways a derogatory term to that day. The Shoah is a more appropriate day, but don't get caught up in that. Get caught up in the meaning of it. As I thought about this morning, it reminded me that this is a generation that is being lost. This is literally a dying generation. Veterans that lived through, that were a part of World War II. Very few now. We see those that go to Normandy on a yearly basis. Very few of them are able to make that trip. This is now happening about the Korean War. And it's not too far from being the Vietnam War. But I want to just challenge you, if you know someone that was part of World War II, search them out, speak to them, spend some time with them, ask them to the point of pressure them to tell you the stories of that time so the stories can be passed on. My father was in World War II. He was in the South Pacific on a LST ship, Navy ship that was manned totally by Coast Guard. And I never knew my dad, but I went online and researched the places that his ship was in order to try to figure out who that man was. So I would challenge you that in this time of the Shoah Memorial, that it would be a good time to think about reaching out. A couple of books that you might want to consider. First of all is a book called Hitler's Death March. You know, those of you that watch all the time, you might try to figure out, what's that? Those books right there. Those are just some very important books to me. And this one was given to me by a very close friend in Israel, Leah Goldsmith, Moshe and Leah. And this is actually the story of Leah's father, and answered some really interesting questions to me regarding who Moshe and Leah are and why they are. So I think that I checked this morning, there's one copy that's available on Amazon. If you type in Hitler's Death March, it comes up as a survivor's story. And there are a couple of other websites that have, but there's probably not more than a handful of these books that are available. And so you might want to go online. The other book that I would recommend is a book by Dr. Michael Brown. Now, I know I knew Dr. Brown during the Brownsville era, and I have a lot of theological disagreements with Dr. Brown. But the book that he wrote, which is actually the foreword is by Don Wilkerson, and is called Our Hands Are Stained with Blood. Now, I can tell you that this book will make you mad. It will make you, this will be a book that you lay it down and say, I can't read anymore. On the edge of the news, this is yesterday morning, of the Pope passing away. Barry and I are scheduled to do a recording tomorrow, Foundations for Life, and we're going to talk about the Pope. We're going to talk about the Catholic Church. We're going to talk about the gospel. And if you've ever wondered if I am in any way scared of controversy, well, just tune into that one again. I'm not at all. I don't run from controversy as long as it is the right controversy. There are hills that are not worth dying on, but there are some that are worth fighting for. And so I'm going to be talking about that. But when we look back at the Shoah, the Holocaust, we look back at World War II, not only was the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church of Germany, not only were they complacent, but they were also engaged in what happened. It was not just apathy toward what was going on, the killing that was going on, but there is documented evidence that specifically the Catholic Church and the leadership of the Catholic Church was complicit in the events that were happening. Okay, with that, time to go on to something a lot better, which is Leviticus, Vayikra chapter 9, and it says, on the 8th day Moshe called Aaron, his sons, and the leaders of Israel, and said to them to give an offering. Now, the word here, on the 8th day, is translated in King James as, and it came to pass on the 8th day. And this is actually a very good translation of the word here. It is, the word is, first of all, is a vav. Okay, the vav is not actually a part of the word, but the vav is to connect that which was in chapter 8 to that which is in chapter 9, to remember that this is one continuous from Genesis all the way to maps. Everything is connected along the way. And the word here is a yod, a hey, and a yod, but the root word for that is a hey, a yod, and a hey. Okay, what is this saying to us? The first word, the word used here, two yods separated by a hey. The yod is the hand, the letter hey is breath. The root word is two letters of hey, breath, that are separated by one letter, which is a yod. And I think that to me, the meaning of this is very important in that, well, I'll give you a statement. His word and his actions match. His word, the hey, and his actions, the hand, they are consistent in always matching up. What do we see in our society today? This politician, some politician gives up, yeah, that would be great. Most of them need to just give up and go away. But that's a political statement. I'm not trying to go there. Great fupa, though. We see a politician that gets up and they give a speech. And the media and simple-minded people, they say, oh, it was a wonderful speech. Did you hear this person's speech last night? I don't care what a person says. I want to know what they are going to do. And what they are going to do is going to be based upon what they have done. With not just politicians, this goes to religion, politics, it goes to life in general. Think about it. How many people do you know? When I was growing up, there's a statement, is a man is only as good as his word. That is a total true statement. Today, you go to buy a car. It takes over a half an hour to sign the paperwork for an auto loan, or just to buy the silly thing, even if you're paying cash. Much less go buy a piece of property or a house. I sold real estate. And I remember in Alaska when I was selling real estate, the closings were about maybe 15 minutes. I sold cars. That was not a good time of life. But except for the time in which the finance guy was trying to talk you into buying, the extended warranty and this warranty and that thing and the other thing and all that, besides that, it was just a few pieces of paper. Now it's all these documents. Well, we could blame that on lawyers, okay? Probably a lot of the blame is there, but you can blame it really on the dishonesty of people. That a man or a woman is in our society today not as good as their word. We used to have things were based upon a handshake. The handshake was a formality. It was a person's word was a person's word. So with all that, let me ask you a question. How many people do you know in your life today that you can totally and completely trust that what they say will be backed up by their actions? I mean, it may be as simple as this. Somebody tells you, okay, I'll see you at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. And you know they're not going to make it. You know that it's going to be 6:30, 7 o'clock, 7:30. You know that they are in their mind, well, it's, I'm just going to say something. It's a lie, folks. It's not being honest in backing up our words with our actions? How many people do you know? And if I was to ask other people that are around you in your center of influence, if I was to ask them to write down the names of the people that they know that they could totally and completely trust to be a man or woman of their word, would your name be on that? Would your name be on their list? Or would it be conspicuously absent from that list? Well, we serve a creator, an Elohim, a God, that is true to his word, that his actions and his word has always lined up. This book that we have, called the Scripture, is a book that reveals the person of our Creator, the Almighty. And I cannot find a single place in 6,000 years of history in which his word and his actions did not line up. Now, I haven't even gotten to the word eighth yet, but, that to me, I could just kind of close it and go, okay, I have found something, actually someone in life that I can totally and completely trust. What a great gift. Now, the word, on the other hand, the word eighth, the root word of this, the word shemini, which is, this is the Torah portion, the name of it, shemini, the eighth. The root word of it is kind of funny. It's fun. If you go on Blue Letter Bible and you keep clicking on root word, you're going to go down about 4 or 5 levels before you actually find the root, and it means to make fat. All right, now, okay, well, what in the world is eighth and fat got to do with anything? It has numerous meanings along the way, one of which is to take fat and smear it upon something. All right, yeah. But remember the place, the time, the culture, they are, and this is speaking about the offerings and the fat that is going up on the altar. What is it that when your neighbor decides that they're going to do a barbecue and you live close enough to where the wind is blowing over and all of a sudden you find yourself salivating, and it's like, whoa, what in the world is that? You know what, that's the fat. That is that smell that just, it doesn't, you don't even have to be hungry at that point in time. You just start to smell that fat as it's dripping down onto those coals, producing that flame and producing that smell, and it brings forth what? A yearning for a hamburger or a steak or whatever it may be that you really love, okay? So this word eighth is a word about a yearning for something that is of richness, it is robust, it is fat, it is full, it has a fullness of something. And what is that day? It is called the eighth day. The eighth day, now I talk a lot on the millennium. In fact, for the youth that are going to be at Camp Mashiach in June, and by the way, registration is open if you have youth that want to go there. I think it's going to be a great time. But I have been tasked as to speak about the millennium. Looking forward to that. I love to speak about the millennium. I love the concept of the 1,000 years. To me, there's so much teaching about the 7 years of tribulation that we haven't figured out yet anyway. So, what would I rather focus on? 7 years of bad, or 1,000 years of amazing. But then you consider that the 1,000-year millennium is just the 7th day. It's kind of like, Shabbat. And I love Shabbat. I mean, Shabbat is just like, it's Lenny and Varda's song. It's only 7 days to Shabbat. Or 6 days to Shabbat. And then we count down 1 day to Shabbat. It's Shabbat preparation day. And I come up with, what is it? Okay, PSS. I had to figure that one out. I haven't said it in a long time. Somebody asked me the other day about this one. PSS, pre-Shabbat syndrome, which is followed by post-Shabbat syndrome, which is basically meaning that I want my Shabbat to start in the afternoon on Friday and end sometime sometime on Sunday. But that's another subject. So this thing about Shabbat, it's this wonderful time of rest, of gathering with people, of maybe eating some things that you know you shouldn't, but it's Shabbat and calories don't count on Shabbat. I know that's wrong, but I'm trying to make myself believe it. I know they really do count, but give me that one, okay? But then I consider that Shabbat is going to be like paling in comparison to what the 8th day is. The 8th day is the one that we're really not told a lot about. I think Ezekiel talks about that some. Isaiah 66 talks about that. When we will come before him from one new moon to another, from one Shabbat to another on the earth to worship him. But we're not really told about that 8th day very much. Why? Because that is the time in which we will see the fullness, as I believe Zechariah talks about, that his name will be one, that all will be restored. The whole plan that he came up with, that he devised in the beginning, even back, before Genesis chapter 1, the plan that we see revealed in Revelation of, I saw a renewed heaven, a renewed earth. Old things had passed away. There was no more sea. He'd wipe away the tears. And a people that he would be their Elohim, and they would be his. That's the 8th day. And I think that the reason that the scripture does not talk about it too much is because there's no way we could understand it. We might be able to in some way grasp the 7th day, the millennium. When I get my pet tiger. But to grasp the 8th day, our brain cells in this fallen nature would literally explode before our eyes. There would be nothing left if he were to give us an actual revelation of what that 8th day is. The fullness of who he is and his glory, his kavod, covering the earth as the sea. That's the 8th day. Now, verse 24 talks about that the rest of this, the next few verses and going down to the end of this chapter talks about the giving of that offering. That is the sin offering, the burnt offering. Those are given, and his fire comes forth on that day. Now, notice if you read verse 24, fire came forth from the presence of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, consuming the burnt offering and the fat on the altar. When all the people saw it, they fell on their faces. They shouted and fell on their faces. That's probably one of the greatest understatements of Scripture. They shouted and they fell on their face. I'm thinking that this was quite an event here of the people kind of right between this awe state and are we going to die state. Somewhere right in the middle of that. That shout was one of incredible excitement, of awe, and of reverent fear mixed all together. His fire comes forth and it consumes, and I talk about this when I teach the tabernacle. it consumes the offering, the fat, on the altar, but it does not consume the altar. It does not consume the people around it. So understanding that his fire is perfect. And his fire only burns what needs to be burned. In Revelation, speaking of those days before us, Revelation chapter 20, verse 7, when the 1,000 years were over, I could just camp there on that one. When the 1,000 years are over, I heard a song the other day, I was listening to a song, when all is said and done, the adversary will be set free from his prison. He will go out to deceive the nations in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them to battle. Their number is countless as the sand on the seashore. And they came up over the breadth of the land and surrounded the camp of Elohim's people, the city he loves. Fire came down from heaven and consumed them. The adversary who had deceived them was hurled into the lake of fire and sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet were, and they will be tormented day and night forever and ever. Good. His fire is absolutely perfect. His fire can consume that which is needed in our lives, that which needs to be burnt up from our lives, but that fire will never touch anything else in our lives. His fire is absolute in its perfection. Now, this is these verses I just read. This is where I think people get this term, and probably this is a lie in itself. But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Many people say, "Well, I've read the back of the book and I know what happens." Well, that's probably I would imagine that many people that say that have never actually read the back of the book. They've only heard about the back of the book. Okay, I'll give them whatever. But the question that needs to be raised regarding this is not have you read the back of the book, but have you lived the rest of the book? Have you lived what's in the book? Because if you're not living what's in the book, what I just read is a person's future. A person is not living what is in the book. What I just read is their destination. It is not as important to know the back of the book, but to live what's in the book. And with that, we see chapter 10 of But Nadav, Avihu. They're offering what is called strange fire or unauthorized fire. Interesting that I've never really looked at this before. Maybe you have, but the name Nadav means generous. Avihu means he is my father. So these two brothers, the sons of Aaron, the sons of the high priest, these are the nephews of Moshe himself. All right, just because a person is raised in a righteous home doesn't necessarily, they still have choice. Every single person has choice in this life. And we cannot control, we can try to influence, but we cannot control the choice another person makes. Sometimes I think we need to let ourselves off the hook regarding that one. I can only try to influence someone. I cannot make a choice for them. Now, with Nadav, Abihu, it says, so these two men together, they've come to their theology that the one who is my Father, my heavenly Father, is generous. He's kind. He just is giving all the time. What is it possible with this that they have lost their awe of who he is? And that caused them to do things their way. I see this, I've seen this from as far back as I can remember in a spiritual sense, people wanting to serve God their way. Is that not the essence of what Catholicism has done? Is that not the essence of what Protestant denominationalism? Is that not the essence of Christianity? In a way, is that not the essence of at least some of Judaism? I'm going to kind of tone that one back a little bit. Is that not the essence of Buddhism, of New Age? I heard the story of, who is that? What's her name? Katy Perry, I think it is. I am really the one that went up in the rocket the other day and thought she was an astronaut. I actually heard someone read the words that she spoke, and it's amazing to me how utterly brainless some of these people are. Just because you have a voice and have, a bazillion dollars in the bank does not make you a smart person, and she proved that. Comes down with a little flower in hand and talks about loving herself and how in the midst of, and I know there's, did they really go into space? Okay, whatever. You go into the atmosphere up to the earth, to that place, and the only thing you come down thinking about is yourself. I think that 2 Timothy talks a little bit about that, of people being lovers of self. I mean, she is like she's the apostle to that verse right there. She's got it down. And the last words out of her mouth that I heard were something about she came to the revelation of the divine feminist or something like that. Feminine divine or whatever it is that she said. It wasn't worth me going back and actually remembering what it was. But what is this? This is basically a trying to serve the Creator our own way. The word here is translated by David Stern, as unauthorized fire. The word in King James is strange fire. But the word is used a lot. Just say it like that. The word is used many times in the book of Proverbs. And you know what it's talking about? It's talking about a prostitute. They offered, and we're not told what it is. Why? Because if we were told, okay, it was this, then we'd say, well, I didn't do that, but I can do those things. No, he kind of leaves an umbrella here. And the word, what is a prostitute? A prostitute is one who has a relationship outside of the boundaries of a covenant. I'm not going to go any farther than that. I'm just going to leave that one. I could go a long ways here, but I'm not. But is desiring a relationship outside of the boundaries of covenant. Could we say that the recent the recent holiday that we went through, the one with the egg-laying bunnies, is that unauthorized fire? I guess we would have to. Does he accept those things? I don't know. I don't know where the line is. This is the problem that I have with many things spiritual, is that I am not him. And I'm really thankful to him that that's the way it is. I'm very thankful to my Creator that I am not my Creator, because I don't think I would do as good a job with creation as He has. I would make some really bad decisions along the way. I don't know where His lines are. Again, Barry and I are going to be talking about this on Foundations for Life some, and trying to work out some of this muddiness, this murkiness that I think probably all of us have tried to figure out along the way. If we come to some answers, that'd be great. But I don't want to look at, okay, where is that line? Am I close to that line? Am I over that line? I think that's a futile discussion. For me, I want to go to the verse in the verse 3 that says, Moshe said to Aaron, this is what Yudhe-Vave said, through those who are near me, I will be consecrated, and before all the people, I will be glorified. The word would be translated very well, through those who are near me, I will be set apart, and before me, I will be shown kadosh, holy. Our job in this world is, yes, to draw near to Him. Draw near to God and He will draw near to you. That verse out of the book of Yaakov simply says to me this: I am, in this moment, on April 22nd, 2025, about 9 o'clock in the morning, I am as close to Elohim, God, the Almighty, my Creator. I am as close to Him as I have desired to be. And if I want to be closer to Him than I am today, then I have to make a decision. Because it is my choice in this life. It is my decision to draw near to Him, but how close I get to Him. You look at the 11 disciples. Well, we got 12. One of them chose total wrong. That gives us 11. Out of those 11, we see 8. Hopefully my math is going to hold up here. We see 8 that were close to Him. We see 2 that were closer to Him. We see 1 that was closest to Him. So do we want to be close, closer, or closest? Was it that Yochanan, John, was it something was, special about him, or did he just make the choice? Did he just make the choice? I desire to be not close, not closer. I desire to be closest. The men who were there with David, I'm reading through Samuel right now. The men who were there with David in the cave as he was fleeing, and they heard him say to have a cup of water from the well in Bethlehem. Those were the ones that ran out the door. Those were the ones that were closest to David. Are we settling for close when we could be closer? Are we settling for closer when we could be closest? Because those that are closest are those that have more impact, I believe, on other people's lives. When I seek to make Him set apart, not just this idea of, well, my Father's generous and He's lovey-dovey and He's just going to pass out things. It doesn't really matter, matzah bread, marshmallow peeps, does it really matter in life? Yeah, it does. By the way, I heard a stat the other day that during the time of that holiday, that there are 1.5 billion marshmallow peeps that are sold, and those things have gelatin in them, which takes us to chapter 11, and that which is kosher. or that which is called kosher. Now, the word, this chapter 11 is not really, it is not, to use the word kosher is appropriate, but it's a little bit of a misnomer because of what has been accepted as, or what is taught in Judaism as kosher. Now, in Judaism, and I was just there are different levels of kosher. In some restaurants you go to, you will not go to a restaurant that serves meat and dairy. I've been in homes that have, 2 kitchens. I've been in homes that have 2 sets of dishes, all of those things. And by the way, if you just said something of a judgmental attitude, you know something? You're judging a person's heart, not based upon your understanding of what they might be trying to do. So, legalism is doing the right thing for the wrong reason, but being judgmental of what someone else is doing in their life without knowing why they're doing something in their life is just being judgmental. So maybe you want to back off on the judgmental attitude toward other people, which may put us in line for people to not be as judgmental toward us. See, might be that this is all a setup for us, that we have a choice in, if we're judgmental toward another person, that we're going to then reap what we sow. I don't like the crops in that field. So the word here in chapter 11, the word kosher is not specifically speaking of rabbinic laws and traditions regarding this. The word kosher means, the root of it means to be clean, the root of the word, it is a kaf, a shin, and a resh, which means fit or proper, or as a friend of mine from England would say, proper. So what is in chapter 11, Leviticus, is that which is fit and proper for us to consume, and that which is not fit and not proper for us to consume. Now, this is the essence of what we call kosher. Now, there's one other verse that's used, I think it's a couple times, of you are not to boil a kid in its mother's milk. Okay, in my belief, that is a pagan ritual and is not about the separation of meat and dairy, but that's my opinion. You go back to Abraham and it said, well, he served them curds and he served them meat, okay? But it does not tell you that he did it together. So we're given a little bit of room here to either condemn ourselves for being judgmental, or say, well, maybe there's something here to be thought through. I mean, I know from study of health that our body produces different enzymes for the digestion of dairy products versus meat products. So maybe there's something there. Again, if we jump to conclusions too fast, we may end up with a blessing or with a curse. Do I follow the rabbinic laws and traditions regarding kashrut? No, I don't. Should I look more into them? Possibly. Okay, but see, that's my decision. What I'm asking you to do here in reading through this and then looking at your own choices that you have made. All right, now if you're making a choice to eat that which is said to be unclean, then, excuse me, but you've made the wrong choice. There are those that came up with, well, a shrimp that is raised in a farm It actually has some kind of scale and a fin at the back, so it must be kosher. No, it's not. Kathy, we were talking yesterday about a place that I went to in Israel. My guide at the time, Miriam, took me there, took our group there, and they actually served pork. Miriam looked at me and said, I guess this probably isn't the right restaurant for me to have taken you to. Now, they had other options. So, we ate something that was not pork. But at the same time, how do you get pork in Israel? Well, you can order anything in Tel Aviv and some other places. I had my last trip dinner on the eve of Yom Kippur in Jerusalem with a Jewish man, secular Jewish man, okay? So you can buy things in Israel. Whether you should or shouldn't, well, that's, a lot of things are done in Israel that are not according to Scripture. A lot of things are done all over the world that are not done according to Scripture. How did they get away with raising pigs in Israel? Well, they came up with that if we put down concrete, then the pigs are not actually touching the ground of Israel, so they're not actually being raised in Israel. That kind of goes back to, why were there pigs up in the area of the Gadarenes during the time of Yeshua? Okay? I mean, these things didn't just start yesterday. Man has, from the beginning, been trying to get around what? Kosher. What is fit and what is proper versus what is not fit and what is not proper. See, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was not fit, not proper. The tree of life was fit, was proper. All goes back to the garden. So today we have to make a decision. Are we going to accept what his word says, or do biblical calisthenics trying to get around it? You do calisthenics and you're not used to it, don't be surprised when you hurt something. Yeah, just saying. Now, the other aspect that I'm going to end with is this. If I can't respect Leviticus chapter 11, things that are told to me to be fit and unfit, proper and improper in the earthly realm, what makes me think that I am then going to accept his word and trust in him regarding things in a spiritual or heavenly realm? Think about that one. If I'm not trusting his word in the earthly realm that I can see, I'm probably not trusting his word in the heavenly realm, which I cannot see. And with that, Shabbat Shalom. I'm going to trust his word regarding my earthly realm of working 6 days and taking Shabbat unto him. And therefore, looking forward to the seventh day, the 7,000 year time period known as the millennium, and also whatever that 8th day is going to be. Shavua Tov. Have a blessed, prosperous week. Bezrat Hashem, God willing. See you again next week. Until then, be strong.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmarecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.